Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. I'm Frank Granito on this Wednesday, October 12th episode, and I'm joined by Dave Stewart. Dave, thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
We're doing all right. We're in the thick of things here, and some nice things going on too with Hall of Fames and different things.
We do have a lot going on. We're literally now a week away from our cross-country championships. Playoffs just around the corners for all of the sports except for football, as we are in the home stretch for a lot of those sports. We have a couple of big dinners in the FCIAC, from Hall of Fames to testimonials, to cover here today. Plus, we want to take a look ahead to our volleyball coverage of McMahon and Staples tomorrow, as well as some of the action we've got going on this weekend, including all of the FCIAC football games. But before we get to all that, Dave, let's start with the HAN Network's coverage of St. Joseph and West Hill girls soccer yesterday from St. Joe's High. It was a battle between two of the top three teams in the FCIAC, both St. Joseph's and West Hills coming in unbeaten and separated by only 2 points in the standings. And Dave, it really lived up to the hype yesterday, did it?
Yeah, and St. Joe's kind of did show that they could assert themselves defensively there. They haven't given up many goals this year anyway. West Hill's got a couple of really good players, Chelsea Dumont being the top player out of there, but St. Joe's did a good job of controlling her, marking her up, and their coach said he doesn't like to really mark people up, but they did it with her, and it worked out for them. And they've got a few people who can really are real weapons on the offensive side too.
And it really was. It was a great game played by both teams. Kevin Coleman and I talked about it during the broadcast that West Hill didn't have a lot of opportunities or quality scoring chances, but it wasn't that they played poorly. There were times in that game where they were dominating. It was really a game with waves of attacks, and St. Joe's was the beneficiary of those attacks, scoring twice. Emma O'Neill in the 35th minute and Lindsay Savko in the 60th minute. Before we get to the highlights, let's talk about the senior Lindsay Savko, who has just been on an absolute tear through the conference this year. There doesn't seem to be a defense that can contain her.
Yeah, she's kind of picked up where Jenna Bike left off last year, and Bike was the main scoring threat last season, and Lindsay's taken that over. And you need a player like that, somebody who can finish. There's a lot of teams that are getting a lot of ties this year, a lot of low-scoring games where they're going back and forth, and they're getting opportunities, but they're not finishing. And Savko is one of the best at that, and she can give people a lot of trouble.
And you mentioned Chelsea Domond, who is one of our Athlete of the Week nominees. Make sure you get on and vote before the week runs up. She had opportunities yesterday, but it was Tori Bike and the freshman Haley Vacchiarelli just in that back line who smothered all day long, really never gave West Hill a quality scoring opportunity.
Yeah, and I saw Chelsea play against New Canaan, and she got just an incredible goal in that game where she basically did everything herself. She's got a lot of speed, she's got a lot of skill, and she is a finisher. But she's playing against one of the top defenses in the FCIAC in St. Joe's, and they did a great job on slowing her down. Got to give credit to Jess Mazo too, setting up both goals for St. Joe's yesterday, and hey, she put them in the right place, and the girls finished.
It's the second time we've gotten to see St. Joe's play, and both games the sophomore has been all over the field and just constantly involved on both offense and defense. Give a lot of credit to both goalies too, both Emily Pritchard and Veronica O'Rourke having strong performances yesterday. But take a look for yourself as we take a look at some of the highlights from yesterday's action. Good afternoon and welcome to St. Joseph's High School here in Trumbull, Connecticut for some girls soccer in the FCIAC. Mazzo on possession, sends one into the box all the way to the cross side. Header on goal and it's in! What a play there. It was Emma O'Neill who finished that one.
Wow, what a header.
Domond taking off possession there. Good job by Miranda Quint. Savko, one touch back to Mazzo. Now the through ball for Savko. She's going to look to split the defense here. Savko, she's in all alone. Savko on Pritchard, fires on goal and scores. What a pretty play from the Cadets. Better finish, and it's 2-0 in favor of Joe's.
It's the way it is right now.
Domond tried to cut back, working through the triple team. Pass to the far side. Oh! And just chipping that one over the cage. It was Emma Callie. Good. Moves to 9-0-1 in the conference.
That only tie coming against Wilton. It's the first loss of the year for the Vikings, but nothing to hang their head over as the clock strikes 0. Final score, St. Joe's 2, West Hill nothing.
So again, it's St. Joe's coming away with the 2-0 victory. West Hill now, they fall to 8-1-2 in the conference, Dave. They'll have 26 points. They sit alone in third place. They're still really in the driver's seat to set themselves up for success. They'll look to rebound this week against Staples, who is lurking right behind them, though. That's a big matchup. We look at that game. How important is it for West Hill to not get caught in the gutter here, rebound, and win this next matchup?
Well, you don't want to start falling backwards in the standings, and there's a lot of teams that are just outside that. What I called the top 3 for a while was Ridgefield and St. Joe's, and then and West Hill kind of as that third team in there. They weren't kind of getting the preseason credit that they may have deserved, but they played great. They played great this season. You want to come back with a win. Whenever you get a loss, if you can bounce back like that, you kind of put it in your rearview mirror and
it's especially important now too because West Hill's sitting in third place. They have 26 points. Both Staples and Wilton have 25. You're looking at these top 5 teams who have separated themselves from the pack. The difference of 1 point right now between having to play the 6th place team or ending up in the 4th or 5th spot, and now you've got to play both those teams and potentially in the semifinals having to play the 1st place team, who right now looks like it will be Ridgefield or St. Joe's. And on Friday afternoon from St. Joe's at 4:30, we will see the leaders of the West and the leaders of the East in an FCIAC rematch. Of course, the Tigers winning last year's championship game 2-0, handing St. Joe's their first and only loss of the year. That's going to be one of the more exciting games we'll see on the schedule this year.
That's going to be a huge one. And one factor you got to figure in here for Ridgefield is Ridgefield will be playing its second game in 2 days at that point. They have New Canaan at Connor Field in New Canaan on Thursday, and New Canaan's sitting at 4-3-4. They're one of those teams that's kind of back in the pack, might be playing for a matchup against the 1 or the 2 seed. Ridgefield will go in heavily favored against New Canaan. New Canaan can give people some trouble, so and you're wondering if fatigue could be a factor for Ridgefield. On the second day, they're playing a good team in New Canaan, and then they got to play a great team in St. Joe's on in back-to-back days. That can really wear down a team.
And we mentioned at the start of the show how quickly time is running out on this FCIAC season. New Canaan's currently in 8th place in the conference. They have 16 points. Danbury, Trumbull, and Ludlow are all within 2 points, though, right in striking distance. And McMahon has 12 points. They are not far behind either. But if we look specifically now at St. Joe's and Ridgefield, you've got 2 of the best defenses in the conference, 2 of the best offenses. Let's start with the matchup up front. If you had to give an advantage to Lindsay Savko and Jessica Mazzo or Katie Jasminski and Alex Damron, which way are you leaning right now?
That's really a rough call. It's kind of like 2 teams getting into the Super Bowl, and both of them have great players at every position. I tend to give the advantage to Ridgefield in this case, just because they're the defending champs. The way they've handled everybody this year has been impressive. They've got that kind of edge from having beaten St. Joe's last year. I think they might be a little bit looser going in. That being said, the fatigue factor, as I said, playing two soccer games in 2 days could come into play here. So you just wonder how that's going to play out.
It's 2 soccer games in 2 days, and it's 2 road games back-to-back. And the trip up to St. Joe's from Ridgefield is not an easy or that comfortable a trip,
no,
especially on a Friday afternoon. You look at the goalkeepers here. You've got the Junior O'Rourke versus Middlebrook. We talked about at the beginning of the year, you've got 9 players returning from that FCIAC Championship Tiger team. They trail in the standings right now by a point, but they've played 1 less game, and it's a tie that St. Joseph's have. I'm struggling it's a very difficult choice to make right now, picking one way or the other. I think you're right, though. You have to lean a little bit towards Ridgefield just because until the champ is knocked off, they are still the champ.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They haven't lost this year. They're unbeaten and untied this season, and they just seem to be handling everything that comes their way at this point. St. Joe's is a different animal. St. Joe's does have the home game in this case, and as we talked about the fatigue factor a couple of times here. there's a lot of stuff that goes in this. Both goalies you mentioned are phenomenal, and they're veterans. They have the experience. Middlebrook, of course, the MVP last year in the final. She's got that going for her. It's just such a tough call. Those matchups are just so even up and down the field. It's hard to figure out who's gonna come out on top. And
they're two very balanced teams from the goalkeeper all the way up to your strikers. Just the talent across the board is really unmatched throughout the conference. But this is a vendetta game for St. Joe's too. They have not forgotten about that only loss from last season. This is their first chance to avenge that. Again, that game Friday afternoon at 4:30 from St. Joe's High School. Dave, we're going to take a break here on Nutmeg Sports, but when we get back, we're going to take a look at some of the FCIAC ceremonial dinners that have been taking place over the past 2 weeks, including the upcoming Fairfield County Sports Commission Hall of Fame dinner next Monday, right here on the HAN Network.
1, 2, 3, Abby! You know! I want to find out how good I am. Yes, sir! If you relax, you get blown out. Let's get it done! Let's get it done!
What can you take advantage of right now?
Again, come on! I can push myself way beyond what you think.
Pressure technique. Bring it back.
Connecticut is coming back to hometown banking. To a partner that makes small businesses feel big. Where community comes first. Where high-tech tools go hand in hand with a human touch. Where you get the know-how only neighbors can deliver. Where saving time is important too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
Have a sports injury or a slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook.
Visit 5 significant houses designed by Philip Johnson in New Canaan, Connecticut on an exclusive 1-day study tour on October 22nd. The tour will visit the Hodgson House, the Alice Ball House, Wiley Speculative House, and Boisana's House, culminating with an evening tour of the Glass House property and festive reception. Tickets include tours of each house, shuttle transportation, and refreshments throughout. Visit theglasshouse.org and click on What's On to get your tickets and more information.
At Mex on Main, Trumbull's very own Mexican grill, we're all about fresh, fast, and friendly service. Our Main Street restaurant offers the best in traditional and non-traditional Mexican dishes, with only the best ingredients, never frozen. From authentic burritos, fajitas, quesadillas, and salads, we have something on the menu for everyone in the family. And enjoy our open salsa bar, giving you more ways to customize your meal. Stop in for lunch or dinner at 6528 Main Street, Trumbull, or find out more at mexonmain.com.
When it comes to local entertainment, we've got it all.
From movies, local artists, etiquette, and more.
Watch HAN Arts and Leisure with me, Steve Coulter, and our Arts and Leisure editor, Sally Sanders, Mondays at 12:30, right here on the HAN Network.
Give your day a jumpstart with the latest news, sports, weather, and more on Coffee Break, live on the HAN Network, weekdays at 11 a.m. Connecticut news doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. Frank Granito and Dave Stewart standing in the studio today. Dave, we've had a couple of ceremonial dinners within the FCIAC going on. There was one coming up next Monday, but first we had one last week. It was the testimonial dinner in honor of John Kutzo and Ralph King. You were in attendance last week. What can you tell us about the event?
It's just a great night for the two guys who've had obviously a lot to do with what the league's done over the past 50 years, 55 years really. It was kind of emotional, you could tell, especially for Ralph King. He a lot of family and friends there, and a lot of stories told, some that we could share on air, but others that we couldn't. But they were. It was just a great kind of outpouring for them of thanks to them, and you look at the numbers that the league has put up over the years, and realize that they had a hand in a lot of that and setting that all up for the athletes and the teams and the schools, and it's just tremendous.
And it was great they were able to work this out and find a way to put it together. It was in question at first because they finished their, they retired officially at the end of June, and they were searching for a date to find out when they could make this work. It was a little later than they would have liked, but you said there was a great showing in attendance numbers, and just the respect that these two have demanded and really earned through their careers with the FCIAC has been incredible. And you talked about some of the numbers. We've got up on FCIAC.net right now the amount of championships between 1961 and 2016 while these two were in office. And the FCIAC as a conference won over 1,000 state championships in that period, which is
It's incredible. It really is. When you look at the numbers, and there's New Canaan's at the top with 150, and you've got Darien and Greenwich in there in the top three. But when you look at the number of teams that have won state championships and have won double-digit state championships, there, it's a pretty strong group. And even the runner-up finishes are listed there, and it just shows a ability for these teams not only to get to the finals, but to win those. What struck me is that if you look at it, you've got 517 runner-up finishes. You've got 1,005 championships. It means they're getting there. They're winning.
It's 1,500 championship appearances. There isn't a school that's been in the conference that hasn't won a championship. You want a great number here? 5 schools have won over 100 state championships. 6 of them have appeared in over 100 state championships. Those are numbers that no matter what conference you go to in the state, they won't be close to being matched.
It's just great. And you see it year in and year out too, when teams that might be around the 500 mark in the conference make it to the state tournament and go on a great run, either getting to the semifinals or the finals, knocking off higher seeds. Happens all the time. I don't think there's any team out there in the state that wants to see an FCIAC team coming in the first couple of rounds.
And we're seeing it right now too in the football season. It's a shame almost because you look at the Class Double L football standings right now. There are 5 FCIAC teams in the top 12. Maybe 2 of them are going to get in because they've all got to play each other now down the stretch, and they're going to knock each other off. And it's just such a credit to how competitive these two men made this conference over the years.
Trinity Catholic will attest to that. I mean, they're right now they're sitting at 1-3, and they've played Trumbull, New Canaan, and Greenwich, and and they've got Ridgefield coming up. I mean, this is a team that if they got into Class S tournament, they could challenge for the championship. They may not make it in. They may have, if they don't win this week, they'll have 4 losses, and it's probably a done deal.
They were semifinalists in that class last year. We have another big dinner coming up this next week, Dave. That's the Fairfield County Sports Commission's 12th annual Sports Night Award Dinner. The Fairfield County Sports Hall of Fame will honor the newly elected Hall of Famers at the dinner on Monday, October 17th at the Hyatt Regency in Greenwich. With the 7 new inductees, the Hall of Fame has now recognized 78 county sports legends. For only the second time in 12 years, there was a tie in the voting, and 3 inductees were selected in the amateur wing. The new inductees will include J.J. Henry from Fairfield, Rita Williams from Norwalk, the late Manute Bowl of Bridgeport, the late Maurice Wilkie Gilmore from New Canaan, Bill Steinkraus of Darien, Coach Lou Marinelli from New Canaan, and Mike Walsh of Stanford. Dave, these are just 7 of the nominees who are going to the Hall of Fame. There aren't enough words that you could put to describe the just accomplishments and achievements of this list.
Just a great and talented group, ranging from athletes to coaches in there. And you talk about guys like Mike Walsh and Lou Marinelli and what they've done and their programs. There's really nobody better than those two, in their respective sports over the years. And I know Lou well, and I know Mike from his years over with Stanford Catholic, and it's just it's just a great group altogether.
It is. It's a well-deserved honor, and on top of that, in each of the 16 towns throughout the FCIAC, a committee headed by a local town representative of the commission selected a sports person of the year. Each winner was deemed to have had the most positive impact in their sports community between August of 2015 in August of 2016. The 16 sports persons of the year are, for Bridgeport, it's the University of Bridgeport women's soccer team, who was in the D2 Final Four at the NCAA level. For Darien, it's the Darien High football team. They were the undefeated and undisputed champions of Connecticut. In Easton, it was the Barlow High boys golf team. They won the D2 state championship. Fairfield, they chose the Ludlow High School lacrosse teams for their work with the Sticks for Soldiers program. Greenwich, it was Anders de Jesus, the high school gymnast, who won all 5 Class L state titles. Monroe, Brian Walker, the runner who participated in a road race in all 169 Connecticut towns. New Canaan's Olivia Homp and Sarah Manley, who were both ranked in the top 25 of women's college lacrosse this season. Newtown's Curtis Urbina was the youth wrestling coach. He won the award there. Norwalk Sehi Hosokawa of the boys tennis team, he was the state open champion. Shelton High's football team, they were the Class LL state runner-up. Stratford's Tyler Matakevich, he was the Division I National Football Player of the Year, most recently drafted in the 7th round by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Trumbull's Jenna Bike of the girls soccer team, she was the National Player of the Year. Weston's Mark Berkowitz, he was the Weston High Athletic Director. Westport's Lucas Hausman, the Bowdoin College basketball standout. And for Wilton, it was the late Tom Fujitani, the legendary football coach from that town. With the 16 new honorees, the Fairfield County Sports Commission has now honored a total of 183 local sports persons. Dave, we talked about this a little bit in August when the announcement came out, but again, with the dinner coming up, just a tremendous group of programs and athletes alike that are now going to be remembered forever amongst Fairfield County sports.
Yeah, then there's a few people who stand out in that group, or a few teams and people who stand out. Ludlow with their contributions to the Sticks for Soldiers program, which is just an awesome awesome cause there, and they've been doing that for a number of years now. So it's nice to see them represented this way. Darien football, I mean, what can you say about them? They're still rolling right now, and the winning streak, I believe, is at 16 now. I believe that's where it is, and they haven't shown any signs of missing a beat at this point. They'll still have a couple of tough ones with Staples and New Canaan coming up, but those stand out. Jenna Bike from St. Joe's, we're talking about the success of St. Joe's program. Jenna Bike is really starring at Boston College right now. She's started every game. She's right in the mix with everything, and for a freshman to go in to a program at that level is just incredible. And she's done it and not missed a beat.
And you pointed out Fairfield first and the Ludlow lacrosse teams, and that's what stands out, is that it's not just accomplished athletes; it's also with representation to the community, which is so important. Obviously, you could talk about Matakevich and all these other the teams that have won championships, but you get someone like the late Tom Fujitani, and as successful as he was as the football coach, you think about what he did for that program, what he gave back to the community. You've got Curtis Urbina of Newtown, a youth wrestling coach, Mark Berkowitz as the Weston High Athletic Director, just to name a few.
Yes.
It's a great combination of athletics and community, and it's a great tradition that we see carried on.
You see administrators in there, athletes, teams, and teams' accomplishments on the field with Darien football, and what they're doing kind of off the field with the Sticks for Soldiers program. So it's a great montage of different things going on around the area.
Again, that dinner is going to be Monday night, October 17th at 6 o'clock from the Greenwich Hyatt Regency. We're going to take one more break here on Nutmeg Sports. When Dave and I get back, we'll look ahead to tomorrow's volleyball matchup between McMahon and Staples, as well as some of the key high school football games in the FCIAC this upcoming weekend.
This is now 44 years I've been in this business. Digital came along. After I was in business for about 6 years, I had to totally reinvent the business. So I had to make a tremendous investment in my business. And Milford Bank was there for me. I don't really just consider Milford Bank a bank. I consider them a trusted partner in my business. My name is Jim Wilson, owner of Milford Photo. I choose to bank with Milford Bank.
At In Sports Trumbull, the game is always on inside. Recently renovated and home to one of Connecticut's largest indoor turf fields, In Sports is a multi-sport recreation center providing state-of-the-art facilities for league play, camps, and youth programs. Sign up now for In Sports passing and receiving positional November soccer clinic, scheduled for November 19th. Sessions are available for U13 to U14, U15 to U16, and U17 to U19. Featuring college coaches from around the region, this is your official home of Connecticut's Olympic Development Soccer Program. For more information, visit insportcenters.com.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Drop off your knives to be sharpened, grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers, and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
Hi, this is Leo Carl from Carl Chevrolet in New Canaan, and you've heard me talk about the Chevy Volt for years. The new model gets 53 miles on EV charge daily, plus 420-mile full range. But don't take my word for it. You need to come in and test drive the Volt yourself. Visit us at 261 Elm Street in New Canaan or online at carldirect.com.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter, and I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
If you're watching this broadcast, you're not alone. The HAN network is available for 200,000 Connecticut cable customers on the Frontier network. And we've also reached 1.7 million viewers on our free live streaming sports, news, and entertainment broadcasts. To reach our rapidly growing audience, contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. Frank Granito and Dave Stewart in the studio today on Wednesday, October 12th. We look ahead to our coverage of Thursday's FCIAC volleyball action. We will have the Staples Wreckers hosting the surprised 10-1 McMahon Senators. I guess we shouldn't be surprised anymore at this point, Dave. They continue to prove the doubters wrong, just running away with that East Division right now and continuing to play so well. Do the Senators.
Yeah, and with Meredith Pellegrino, they probably have the best player in the FCIAC right now, and it's been a tough road for Staples. They started out great, and they've had been a little bit of a slump lately, losing 5 of their last 7. McMahon's going to be a tough one for them to break out against. But Staples is a team that can give you trouble, and they're getting them at home. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond to that challenge.
And it's possibly a must-win game for the Wreckers. They're sitting right around the 10th, 11th spot in the conference with time running out. They're 4-5 in FCIAC play. It looks as though 5 losses will end up being the cutoff to getting you into the postseason. So they're teetering on having to win out from this point. But you talked about Meredith Pellegrino and how great the Senators have been. I do want to take a second because, as surprising as that might be, the biggest shock to anyone in probably all of the FCIAC this year across the board is going to be the Darien Blue Wave have lost 6 volleyball matches to date this season.
One thing to remember about that, they are younger than they've been in the past, but also I believe 4 or 5 of those losses are in 5 sets. So any one of those they could have won. And it's kind of like what we were saying about an estate tournament for FCIAC teams. Nobody wants to see Darien in any type of playoff matchup. If Darien sneaks in as a number 8 seed, the number 1 seed right now would be Greenwich. I'm sure they don't want to really see Darien, in the first round at all. But it has been a struggle for Darien. That this is not something we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing them sit at the top of the league, and it's been a struggle.
They hold a half-game lead over Staples in the standings. They have a game at hand. That's that 5th conference win right now. But the Wave is going to have to rally down the stretch here to have a chance and make the postseason. Again, we will have live coverage of that Thursday afternoon from Staples, and we'll have more information on that game tomorrow here on Nutmeg Sports. Dave, while we've got you, though, we want to take a look at the FCIAC's football slate for this upcoming weekend. We've got a couple of big games on the docket featuring 3-1 teams that really could separate them moving through the postseason now as we head towards states. Let's start with Wilton at St. Joe's. This is a game that we'll be covering here on the HAN network, that at 2 o'clock on Saturday. You've got the ground and pound game of the Warriors versus the air it out attack of St. Joseph's. Who are you leaning towards right now?
You know, it's really going to be interesting because it is a contrasting styles in terms of their offenses, but I have to give the edge to St. Joe's right now. That being said, I haven't really given Wilton a lot of credit this year for what they've done, and they've proven me wrong almost every week. So it's, you know, if the Warriors step up and beat St. Joe's, I wouldn't be surprised. But given that you're at St. Joe's, that's a program that knows how to win. Their one loss is to Darien, which, as we talked about, they're right now, they haven't been beaten in 2 years. So I would have to give the edge to St. Joe's there.
Of course, Wilton will be led by Matt DeLisa, who was our Week 3 Athlete of the Week winner in the male category. You're going to expect that Warrior offense to try and control the clock early on, get the St. Joe's offense out of sync, and see if they can maybe steal one up at St. Joe's. That game again Saturday at 2 o'clock. We'll have FCIAC tailgate at 12:15. Let's take a look at another game featuring 2 3-1 teams, probably the most important game of the weekend with state implications on the line. Trumbull at Greenwich. Trumbull is arguably playing the best football in the conference right now, Dave.
They really have, and you know, both teams at 3-1 are sitting outside the 8-team bubble for the Class L Double L tournament. Greenwich, I believe, is 13th, and Trumbull is 14th right now. So a loss could really knock either one of these teams for a loop and make it very difficult to get in. Whereas a win, you're going to pick up a ton of points against a team that's probably going to win a lot of games down the stretch. And, you know, this could be a big move forward for one team and is going to be a big disappointment for another one.
And it's arguably a must-win for both teams just because they both have New Canaan left on the schedule. Greenwich is also going to have to play Ridgefield, and that also brings up now, you've got Ridgefield at Trinity Catholic. Should be, I expect Ridgefield to be favored heavily heading into this game, but it's a 1-3 Trinity Catholic team that could really, really ruin someone's season. That could be the Tigers this weekend.
Well, anybody who's been paying attention with Trinity Catholic isn't going to take them lightly, so I'm sure the Tigers will go in there and they understand what they're up against. You know, I mean, what a brutal schedule for Trinity Catholic this year. New Canaan the first week, Greenwich second. They beat Norwalk, and then I believe Trumbull in week 4. You know, and then to take on Ridgefield. Now they're playing the best of the best in the FCIAC. You might as well throw Darien and Staples onto their schedule just for the heck of it. But the one thing you got to remember about Trinity, they being in Class S, you can afford a couple of losses. They have 3 right now, which does make it difficult. Their rest of their schedule after this, very winnable games down the stretch. So you don't. It's not out of the realm of possibility that they could run the table, and if they win this one, it could put them back into that tournament picture because they will be picking up a lot of points. They're playing bigger schools all the time, so there's a lot of points on the table for them. But a loss here, it's pretty much over, and they're playing for pride the rest of the way, and you hope the kids can stay focused.
You take a look at another matchup of 3-1 teams. You've got the Staples Wreckers coming off the disappointing loss to NFA last week, and the Stanford Black Knights, who are 3-1. You're going to probably see the ball on the ground a lot in that game. Does Stanford have enough to keep up with a very angered Wreckers team now following that loss?
I think that anger is the key in this game. I don't, you know, to me, last week's loss to Staples or to NFA is kind of inexplicable. You know, you're going into that, and Staples just looked like they were handling everybody. NFA is coming off an awful loss to Darien, and they took care of Staples without a problem. I just think Stanford's in the wrong place at the wrong time in this game, and you know they're playing well. And you know if both teams are running the ball a lot, which is what we're expecting, the game could move fast, which could help keep the score a little bit closer and keep Stanford around till the end. But you know I don't see Staples losing 2 in a row here.
Could depend on how healthy Staples can get to. The only team that's not coming off the bye week. So that's something to keep an eye on. Let's take a quick look at the 2 remaining undefeated teams. We'll start with New Canaan. It's their homecoming. They've got Danbury coming to town. Is there any worry right now in the town of New Canaan about the Hatters?
I don't think so. In this case, I believe the Hatters have scored 4 touchdowns this year. New Canaan's defense has been their key, their strength this year. And the offense just has looked very good the last 3 weeks. That opening week against Trinity Catholic is kind of in the rearview mirror at this point. But I just don't see how Danbury can step up and play New Canaan. And perhaps their only hope is that with homecoming going on, Coach Marinelli's always talking about the distractions that are going on with different events and pep rallies and bonfires and things like that. But that being said, I don't see New Canaan losing there.
I can remember Chris Sciaretta showing up to practice in jean shorts one year, and Coach Marinelli was not too happy with that decision. Last game we'll look at, you've got McMahon at undefeated Darien, who's going without Coach Drafone. Is that enough to give the Senators a chance against the Blue Wave?
Again, I don't see that happening, and maybe Darien's such a well-oiled machine right now that they just seem to be able to handle everything that comes their way. I think some of the top tier teams, Greenwich we saw, Staples and New Canaan, who they'll get later this season, could give Darien a run for their money and possibly beat them. But I can't see a team that's struggling to find its way right now, stepping up and taking over the Blue Wave.
It should be an exciting weekend of football, but we've got volleyball tomorrow before that. And, of course, tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., coffee break with Kate Chaplinsky, Yankee Fisherman at 1 o'clock with John Kovach. Dave, thanks for coming in. Looking forward to see you this weekend and, of course, next Wednesday.
It'll be fun. And that championship, that cross-country, the season goes quickly, and we're already into the postseason.
Should be a lot of fun. Cross-country championships next Wednesday. For Nutmeg Sports, I'm Frank Granito. We'll see you tomorrow right here on the AJN Network.